Dan Christian hit a quite remarkable 100, scoring 129 off just 57 balls, but it still wasn't enough to prevent Middlesex from slipping to their 6th successive defeat in this year's NatWest T20 Blast, as Kent won for the 3rd time from 4 by taking the game at Canterbury by 16 runs. In front of an excellent crowd of 4,000, the Spitfires batted first after winning the toss, and Rob Key did what he's been doing all the time in this season's T20 by playing some fantastic shots early on. He hit James Harris for 3 successive boundaries in the 3rd over of the game to give his side a rampaging start. He soon lost Daniel Bell-Drummond at the other end though, the opener clubbing Christian straight to Ollie Rayner at mid-off after making 10. Harris's first 2 overs went for 24 runs as Sam Northeast came in and flicked the second ball he faced over the mid-wicket boundary for the first of the 21 sixes we witnessed on this remarkable night of cricket. It was a nice evening and a nice pitch to bat on, one which Northeast and Key tried to make the most of as they carried the score to 57 for 1 at the end of these 6 overs of power play. Having come into this game on the back of a defeat to Hampshire on the previous evening, it was a pretty good start for the Spitfires. But they lost their captain in the 7th over as Key lifted a foot to be well stumped by John Simpson off Ravi Patel's 3rd delivery of the match. Key went for 36, made off 21 balls. Things really started moving for the home side in the 10th over, one which cost Rayner 15 runs to take the total onto 87 for 2 at the halfway stage. Both Darren Stevens and Northeast helped themselves to rather easy-looking maximums as the pace of the innings started to lift. The Panthers themselves were lifted when some poor running, mixed with a fabulous throw from the deep from Joe Denley, ran out Stevens for 17 with the score on 91 in over number 11. The visitors would have been delighted to see the back of Stevens. The runs kept on coming though as Alex Blake joined Northeast, who was going about his business very nicely. The occasional boundary was hit as these two carried the score to 121 for 3 with 6 overs remaining. Those 36 balls brought the crowd an awful lot of entertainment. Northeast took on Christian. The first ball of the 15th over was hit for a 4 and it was followed up by this clipped 6 as the batsman moved on to 49. His 50 arrived next ball with what was just his 4th 4 to go with his 3 sixes. So the half-century was reached off just 30 deliveries, an innings which was threatening a sizable score for the Spitfires. Northeast would have fancied getting a few more runs the way he was batting. Instead, he showed too much of his stumps to Christian and was bowled for 54, leaving with his side on 137 for 4 with 30 balls of the innings remaining. The next over cost just 5 runs, but then the 17th, delivered by Toby Rowland-Jones, was smashed for 19 as the Spitfires went through several gears very quickly. Both Sam Billings and Blake thumped 6s, taking the total into the 160s. Some of the shots being played now were right out of the top drawer, yet the best was still to come. Harris came back on only to go for 16 runs in his 3rd over, while the penultimate one from the equally expensive Rowland-Jones cost 14, which took the Spitfires into the 190s and a real possibility that even 200 could be made. Blake moved on to a 50 made from only 27 balls. A remarkable shot from Billings did indeed bring up the 200 as the Spitfires finished on 208 for 4, their 2nd best total in this form of the game. Blake finished on 58 and Billings on 31 as they added 71 runs in the last 5 overs. The Panthers have rarely made a good start with a bat this year, and it was the same old story for them as Paul Sterling timed a shot off Doug Bollinger well enough but searched out Blake to go in the 1st over for 4. It was 22 for 2 at the start of the 4th over when David Milan drove David Griffith straight to Key at extra cover after making a dozen. Owen Morgan was back leading the Panthers, but his run of low scores continued when he sliced a hit off Stevens to be caught by Adam Riley at 3rd man with a total on 28 for 3 in the 5th. Christian began his onslaught after his side had stumbled along to 38 for 3 in the power play. He took these 2 6s and 2 other 4s off Stevens in an over which went for 20 runs. Christian was quickly off and running in what was the innings of the T20 summer so far. It may be a tough one to better. His problem was that no one could stay with him. The next to fall was Denley, who was bowled by Bollinger for 9 at 63 for 4 in over number 9. While all around him struggled, Christian played some unbelievable shots. Both James Treadwell and Griffiths were sent for sixes in successive overs as the Australian raced to a half-century off only 25 deliveries, an innings thus far containing 5 fours and 4 maximums. With the score on 96 in the 12th over, Neil Dexter was out in a rather tame fashion, helping this ball from Riley into the hands of North East at long off. And when bowler and fielder combined again 2 overs later to send Simpson on his way for 5, the game was all but over, with the Panthers seemingly down and out on 110 for 6, with just 38 balls of the match remaining. But Christian simply hadn't given up, and he went after everything from this point. The 15th over will be one remembered by all but the bowler Adam Ball, with the batsman hitting 4-4-6, 4-4-6. 28 runs were scored off the 1 over, which made a horrible mess of Ball's figures. It was incredible batting from Christian, who suddenly found himself in the 90s. Ball was replaced by Bollinger, but Christian simply kept on hitting. A stunning shot brought the batsman his 8th 6 as he reached his first ever T20 100 off an amazing 46 balls, his second 50 coming off 21. As well as his 8 maximums, he'd also hit 9 fours in what was a very special innings from a man who has had a disappointing tournament up until now. He clearly hadn't given up the idea of taking his side home. No bowler was saved from the extraordinary striking. His tally of sixes moved into double figures as he single-handedly brought the target down to 49 off the last 3 overs. With Christian batting so brilliantly, that wasn't out of reach. Especially as Roland Jones was now joining in the 6 hitting. An over from Treadwell went for 20, and now the Panthers wanted 29 more runs from the final dozen deliveries. So the Spitfires badly needed a wicket, and Bollinger obliged as Roland Jones got too much under this shot. Billings ran like Usain Bolt to complete the catch, which meant that 19 runs were wanted off the last over, with Christian on strike on 129. When he was then bowled first ball, you could see the relief felt by the bowler Griffiths. Christian had to go, but only after playing one of the best innings many people will ever see. Griffiths then also bowled Rayner for a golden duck, as the tail had to try to find the boundary from every ball. Griffiths can be very proud of his work. On a night when many bowlers were smashed to all parts, he ended with the best figures of his T20 career of 4 for 22, when he also wrecked Patel's stumps next ball. It was an excellent last over. Well, in fact, only 4 deliveries were used, as the Panthers were dismissed for 192, a score they would have been happy with on any other night. Here it meant another defeat by 16 runs. After Christian's 129, the next highest score was the 14 made by Roland Jones. So, while Middlesex sit bottom of the South Group, the Spitfires stay in second place with 3 wins from 4. Next up for them is a trip to Wales next Friday, while Middlesex next head to the Keir Oval for a home match with Somerset on June the 18th.